take for example the Eurasian woodcock here. This bird has a very low metabolic rate in comparison to closely related species. And there are consequences for having a low metabolic rate. For example, seen in the house wren. There are two populations of the house wren. There's the tropical and the temperate populations, both of the same species. And they've both got different metabolic rates, and both have different breeding patterns, different start times of cycle, different laying routines. So this might be happening in the robin. I also had a quick look at the streetlights. The high pressure sodium and the low pressure sodium ones were present in the study. I found no difference at all in the foraging behaviours or timings, and only a slightly early song and low pressure sodium lights, and there was no difference in the song rate. So robins may be particularly sensitive to the peak low pressure sodium output of 589 nanometers. However, as I've just said, the statistical bias with low numbers of territories in each category of lighting, so I can't really conclude too much on this. Conclusions for the studies are that robins are definitely affected by artificial light. I know from the studies that I definitely suffer from a lack of sleep. My cognitive ability the day after the study was severely impaired. And this has also been shown in pigeons. So for these little birds that are up and active for such long periods of time, their lack of sleep might be affecting their cognitive ability and their ability to survive predation the day after. And long-term circadian rhythm disruptions has been shown to be disastrous in humans and birds. This dissociation, the circadian rhythm is day-to-day cycle at night to light, and the hormones that are involved with that is a pretty important part of everyone's lives. And all the hormones, the immune hormones, the fight or flight response hormones, and the breeding hormones are associated with circadian rhythm. So if this rhythm is disrupted, these little birds are likely to suffer. Another point why not take advantage of the 24-hour light? Well, birds are able to sleep with one eye up for at least part of the night. So the majority of the night they'll sleep with both eyes shut. But maybe at some point during the night they'll open one eye, and maybe there's an increased predation risk at this time, or some other factor has caused them to wake up from one side of the brain. And maybe then they realise, oh, it's light, and then they start singing. But in fact it's the artificial lights that they're seeing, it's not the natural lights. And what can be done? Well, as we've all seen today, minimize lights, no, it's just an obvious thing to do. Use lights only when and where necessary. This was done in the Netherlands to some success by reducing the light intensity on a roadway. And two more ecological aspects there, to maintain habitat, to conserve birds and give them some refuge from areas where it's not particularly suitable places to live, and provide food. Although it has to be said that the robins, there's plenty of space for robins to live in the area. They didn't seem to choose to live under the streetlights, so it can't have been so bad for them, or else they wouldn't have lived there. So some further work that I'm going to be doing is we're looking at the sky colour change from the onset of astronomical twilight, using this scary set of equipment there, looking at the colour changes from astronomical twilight, see whether that has any relation to the robins' responses or streetlights. I'll also be looking at predator-prey dynamics, the cat with a feather, looking at owl presence, because I know from the studies that there were owls present in the woodland around and in the street areas, and so whether that has any effect on the robins or also mammals as well. I'll be looking at foxes and small mammals such as voles and shrews. I'll also be doing a collaboration with the British Trust for Ornithology on breeding behaviours, looking at historical and modern nest records, bringing those together to see whether the times of laying or breeding success, i.e. the number of chicks that fledge the nest successfully, have any correlation between urban and lit areas and woodland areas. And I'll also be doing quite an exciting aviary study where I'll be looking after 10 robins in an aviary with my streetlights from my office, lighting them up and seeing what their responses are. So I'll be looking at the two different sorts of streetlights there. I'll also be able to monitor the the robins for 24 hours, using a host of undergraduate students for their snack. I'll be able to film the robins, and they'll build little sensors, so I'll be able to see when they wake up, and look at see whether they do sleep with one eye open, using unihemispheric sleep. Okay, so just acknowledge these people. It's a picture of me in a hat with a robin. And these are all people as supervisors, funding bodies, and people who've helped out. And thank you for listening, and I'll be available for questions after this.
And we seem to think there that in central town, every tree should be unlit. And I wondered whether there were any physical residents that reside in trees which are lit. Kind of on purpose, rather than
I'm not sure I know what, because there's a few odd birds in Cardiff town centre. At the bottom of the bottom of Cathedral Road, there's a robin there that sings 24 hours. And some birds are particularly susceptible.
Fire station, see a tree, I
don't think these trees are particularly ecological drawers in the birds. But station around there, and other stations as well with the street lighting, pigeons eat all night, and pied whitetails, and lots of them, they're there all day. They quite happily stay awake 24 hours eating. So very variable.